Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Steele's How-To series. Today we're going to be walking you through some problem and solution type situations on this 66 C10 on this camper shell. So I actually saw this vehicle a while back at a car show. I started talking to the owner. I noticed some of the seals were cracking, some of them were completely missing, and I asked him if he had any plans, and he said, well, no one makes anything for this. The seals don't exist. And I know that we have a lot of universal stuff that we could probably make work. So today we're going to be walking you through the process of matching up a profile to an original, or perhaps finding a solution for something where the original's missing or never existed to begin with. He's got some stationary glass, louver glass, and a rear lift gate. The process for that might be different for each. Sometimes you have to be creative. But we're going to show you all of that and get this car sealed up, get everything looking nice. Let's get started. So this is what's called an integrated locking strip. It's where the locking strip is part of the main seal. So all you do is peel this part back and it loosens up the gasket all the way around. This seal is tightened up by having this strip that's part of the whole entire gasket pressed into place. So to remove it, we just do the same thing. And we have several different type of locking strip gaskets, but pressure is all that's holding this in. So most times you won't want to remove a seal until you know you have a replacement for it. In this case, we've identified some locking strips that we're going to try out. So we are going to go ahead and remove it. And then with all that out of place, this can just be pressed out. So we're going to remove the screw track cover and this seal at the top. So the screw track cover is just held in with pressure, so we'll just pull that back. For this piece here, it's held into a T that the part just slides into, and I can feel that the part is very difficult to move. So it's loose in this section, then gets tight in the corners, and that's because they pressed this to hold everything in place. So we'll pry this open a bit on this side and we'll remove that. So you can see this has a T-track with two different flaps. This flap goes on the inside of the window and this flap goes on the exterior. And this seals when it's closed and this seals when it's open. So we have a seal that's very similar to this and we're going to see if we can make it work. And then this screw track covers the same as the other side. So these are the pieces of the originals that we were able to pull off of the vehicle. Some of the pieces were missing completely, but this is what we did have. So we got a good snip of each one so we can see the exact profile of each. And what we want to do is match that up to something that's as close as possible. So we have a few different catalogs. The Universal catalog is great for almost anything automotive. And then the RV catalog is a great selection as we move to this camper shell. So we have that as well. So with our glass, this catalog is divided up into sections, that you might be looking at. So this is our glass section, and there's really two different types of glass seals. One is for locking strip and the other is rope in. There are others, but those are the two main ones. And you really know which one you're going to use depending on how your glass compares to the hole that's on the vehicle. So you can see this glass is smaller than the hole, which means that the channel that holds the glass and the channel that goes over the metal have to be in line. So it has to be locking strip. And though we have an original, we would know it was locking strip even without the original because of the size of the glass. If the glass is larger, it's going to be a rope-in style gasket most likely. So we look at this and we want to take some measurements. This piece is right at 3/4 tall, so we want at least that so we cover up the edges. And it is for 3/16 glass, which is perfect because that's what we have, and a 1/16 sheet metal slot on that. So as we look at what we have to offer, we do have one that's near identical to this. So we're gonna get that and see if that works. For locking strip, there's really two different types. This is what we call the integrated locking strip, and that's because this zipper piece is broken off now, but it was part of the seal, so that's an integrated strip. And the other is a two-piece locking strip where you actually have another key that goes into the hole to tighten everything up. It really doesn't matter if you replace one with the other, you just want everything else, your glass channel, your metal channel, and the width to be as close as possible. So we do have a very close match for this. For the screw track covers, we have two different types that we've pulled off. So that means perhaps it was replaced at some other point. So we're going to go ahead and get one of the sample packs that we offer, which is a screw track cover sample pack. So this has all different types of sizes. We have many different sample packs for different applications if you're working on the door, glass, or run channel. But for screw track covers, that's this one. And then for this seal that goes over the louver windows, the T-seal, we do have a T-seal section, and out of all of these, as well as a T-seal sample pack. So we got this. This one's the closest one that we have, but it doesn't have those two wings on it. It only has one. But we're still going to grab that and see if it works for this vehicle. So now that we got a piece of our locking strip gasket, one of the first things we noticed is that the section that holds the pinch weld is just a little bit wide. It's cut for 3/32, and our metal's 1/32. So as we put it up here on the vehicle, kind of put our finger in there to mock up the glass, it is still very loose. So we're going to switch to our two-piece style gasket, which has very similar measurements, but as you put it on there and then pretend that you got glass and locking strip, it's a lot tighter on that seal. And it still covers up this trim, so everything else will look right, but we are going to switch to the two-piece. You don't always need to replace like with like. So we talked a little bit about locking strip style gaskets and rope-in style gaskets. And the main difference between the two, aside from the design obviously, is that a locking strip style gasket is installed on the vehicle and then you put the glass into it, where a rope-in style gasket you install around the glass and then you bring it into the vehicle. So to get our measurement for this gasket, we won't use the glass, we'll use the vehicle to get our measurement. And I find it easy just to start where it's flat. Some people want to start at the bottom, but with these, the bottom is very curved, so it's not as easy. And essentially what we're doing is seating it as far as possible as it will go on the metal. So once we get everything as seated as far as possible as it'll go on the metal, we're going to cut it just a little bit long. So any pressure from the rubber is pushing out against the metal, and that'll give us the best seal possible. And then you can decide whether or not you want to glue that together or just leave it with the pressure. There's vehicles with both scenarios. So now that we've got our gasket in place, we're going to go ahead and put the window in place before we actually put the locking strip in. So like I said, this goes on the vehicle first and then the window, and a little soapy water helps to set everything. And essentially what you're trying to do is get one side started, usually the bottom side, so gravity will help you along the way. You can see it kind of sit down in there. And then what I like to use, a little more soapy water, is a little not sharp ballpoint hook tool. And you can run that up the glass, continuously trying to set it in place as you work on this left side, pushing the glass to the left. As you go up the top, pushing the glass down. And as you go on the right side, pushing the glass left. Or continuing to put it left. But then as we come up to this side, it starts to get a little bit tight. It's helpful to have someone on the inside of the vehicle as well sometimes. In this situation, we can reach behind, kind of get Get everything into place as we continue to work the glass into the seal. Just get that last little bit. Line everything back up. And you can see the glass is just slightly loose in there. Once we put that locking strip in, everything's going to hold real tight. So for the locking strip, we're going to use a locking strip tool. This one has some different sizes. You basically just kind of find one that fits well. So we're going to use some more soapy water right in that channel. And the way this works is you get this end started into your seal and then insert that. So as you move this tool, the locking strip stays in place right at that part. So we'll work this around. And what that's doing is it's separating those pieces that are grabbing the glass and grabbing the metal, and just pushing everything tight together. As you go around curves, the locking strip might want to roll on you, so you just kind of keep it in line. And as you get to the end, same with the other, we're going to cut it just a little bit long. And we'll just work that right into the end. Now that's holding it nice and tight. So now we're going to work on the seal that goes above the louver windows. So as we talked about earlier, we did not have an exact match for this seal, but we are going to use this one to see if we can seal it up correctly. I'm going to take the seal and I'm going to make it. So all of our parts are made from customer originals. So if you're working on something and you can't find anything that would even come close to working, it may be something that we would want to make. And in this case, it would be. But we are going to take this and install it for now. And this is just slid into the track. So we'll get it started here. All right, and we'll make sure that there's no stretch in here. We'll want the material to kind of lay flat. And just like it was originally, we're going to press down this track just a little bit to pinch it into place to make sure it doesn't go anywhere as the car goes down the road. So now that we've got this installed, since we only have the one lip, our options are really to leave it on the outside to seal when the window's open, or to press it to the inside to seal when the window's closed. Since we are going to go back and make that, and this car is not really going to see much rain, and it's really going to have closed windows most of the time, we are going to go ahead and tuck it back behind that window. So now we're going to work on these screw tracks that are run vertically next to the louver windows. And one of the reasons I love these sample packs, a lot of people love them, is there's actually 3 different profiles that will fit this track, but they all have slightly different characteristics. So we wanted to try each one. So we can put each in the track. So all of these fit the track. This one is a little bit bulbous. It comes out, which may be less than desirable. This one fits the track nicely and up against the frame, but it sticks out just a little bit, which may be undesirable. And then this one fits really well. So this is the one that we're going to select to run these verticals, and we'll install that now. For this piece, these 2 tabs just go right underneath the lips on the track. Now that we've installed the rest of the windows, we're going to finish up with the screw tracks. So we're going to go back to our sample pack, and we're also going to measure the width of this channel. And it's right at 5/8, and marked on the sample pack is a cover that fits a 5/8 track. So we're going to test fit it. And that feels really good. It slides a little bit, but that's not a problem. It's very hard to pull out, so it's not going to go anywhere. So I think we found the piece that we need. And You know, if you're working on something like this, maybe you can look at a screw track cover and tell what kind of seal it needs, maybe not. But always give us a call. If we were to see this, we know exactly what goes in it, so we can always help you out to try to find a solution. But we're gonna go ahead and install this. We've got 50 some feet to go, so we're gonna go ahead and do that now. The next piece we're going to try to fix is this rear window. So we've already got the glass out. He's got new glass cut for it. So originally this had plexiglass in it and had screws holding the plexiglass into place. And there's some double-sided tape here. We're not even certain exactly what that was for. But as we measured this channel, it's a very tight channel. So it's actually right at, if not just under, 1/4 of an inch. And our glass is 3/16. So there's not gonna be much opportunity to fit a rubber gasket in there, but what we do have is setting tape. Window setting tape is used to separate glass from metal in tight situations like this, or some vent windows use it. So we're going to take off this lower section as it's only held on by a few screws, and we're gonna take it over to the bench and get things fitted on. All right, so we got our window frame here, the bottom section of it. We cleaned it up a bit, took all the adhesive off the front, and now we're going to work on getting the glass into this bottom part of the frame. So as we talked about, the channel is not much wider than the glass itself, but we do have enough space to put this type of material, which is a window setting tape. We offer it in a 1/32 of an inch as well as a 1/16, but with the tolerances we're working with, we're gonna go with the 1/32. And the way this works is it basically folds over the glass, and then this gets inserted in with the glass, and it's just a pressure fit. And then you come back and you trim the excess. So we're gonna go ahead and line the glass with this material. We're gonna hold it in place with the masking tape to make sure everything kind of stays together as we get it set in the frame. And then we're going to put this bottom section on and then lift the entire thing back up into the 3 other sides. Since it's a trapezoid, it's a nice shape to be able to do that with. So we're gonna get started with that now. Now that we have our setting tape in place on the glass, held in place by this masking tape, I'm going to apply some soapy water across the rubber and inside the channel, and then press this into the channel. It's just a pressure fit, it's a tight fit, so liberal use of soapy water will go a long way. So one of the requests from this owner was that he wanted to cover these holes. We got the glass mounted, we're not gonna put screws through it, so he wanted to cover it. So we were thinking maybe putting a T-rubber into this little track right here to cover these holes. So we got our T-rubber sample pack and grabbed one of our largest ones, or widest, and we stuck it in, and it just wasn't quite right. The T was a little bit too deep, and it also just wasn't quite wide enough. So we went back to the catalog and found this piece here. And we thought, well, maybe if we cut off this section, we'll be able to use that. So we tried that out, got a sample of that, cut off that section, and that actually fit pretty good. It wasn't quite wide enough. It still showed a little bit of metal, and it was a little loose, so we thought maybe we could glue it down and squish it out, but we still weren't super happy with it. So we went back to our catalog and dug a little bit more and found this piece. And whenever we tried that and stuck it in there, it was like magic. It just looked completely right. So we're gonna take some of this, we're gonna line this gasket, we're gonna use some double-sided tape to hold it in place, and we'll miter the corners So when we're done, this will look like a mounted gasket. So there you have several solutions for different areas on this vehicle. We were able to replace the locking strip with a two-piece locking gasket rather than the integrated locking strip. Again, you don't have to replace like with like. We were able to find 3 different screw track covers that all came in the same sample pack, which made it very convenient to test fit. We were able to find the T-rubber for the top of the louver windows, the setting tape for the rear window, and even got creative and found a trim to line that window in the back. The main tools we used are the catalogs and our sample packs. And our sample packs are for different applications, whether you're working on your door, run channel, window felts, edging. Just let us know what you're working on and we'll be sure to get you some material so you can get going on your project. So be sure to like and subscribe for more how-to videos, and as always, thank you for watching.